one of the things that I love the most about being at a conference and being at the booth, like you will find me personally staffing those booths. I love that because I am able to have the frontline interaction with potential clients, hear what's top of mind, hear what questions they have that I probably take for granted that people know that actually may not be the case, and then bring that back directly to our product team and say, this is what people are saying is important to them, or these are the needs that we need to meet. And thankfully, we're already very much in tune with that. And Justin and Aaron, our co-founders, always have been. But that dynamic changes, and the technology is rapidly evolving these days.
Welcome to the Women in Legal podcast with Chelsey Lambert, where we share the stories of women who are making waves in the legal industry as leaders in law, practicing attorneys, or by working as specialists in areas like legal technology or legal marketing. Listen and be inspired to grow in your own career or find the perfect speaker for your next event.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of the Women in Legal podcast. I am your host, Chelsey Lambert, and today our guest is Maddy Martin of Smith AI. I have known Maddy since Smith came into the community a few years ago, and she has just taken her role and by storm and been such an incredible inspiration for so many women in the legal technology space of really coming in and working with a product to bring it to market, and then creating tremendous amount of relationships in a very short period of time. Maddy is a force to be reckoned with, and I'm very excited to have her on the show today. Thank you so much, Maddy, for joining us.
Thanks, Chelsey, for having me.
Yeah. And, we've gotten to know each other quite a bit, but if you could maybe share with our audience members a little bit of your backstory and just how you came to get involved in the legal tech community, how you came to work for Smith AI. Maddy's role is head of growth and education. So you've got quite a bit on your plate and quite a serious travel schedule. So tell us how that came about.
Sure. It's a very circuitous route, actually, to be honest. I was an economics major in college, and then I graduated early, went to culinary school in New York City, and worked for a nonprofit for years in DC, and then started working back in food for a food startup that was competing with Epicurious and Gourmet Magazine. It was an online food community that exists today called Food 52, and I ran their partnership with Whole Foods Market, and then their partnerships, their affiliate program that they were launching with their new online shop. And it was basically a way for people to engage online and share homemade recipes. So home cooks were kind of swapping recipes and asking questions online. And the interesting thing is that it was a very tech-forward approach. It was a real-time forum that they called Food Pickle originally, which was like the cutest thing. And they were really the startup bug that bit me. I moved out to California after working for them for a few years, joined another startup as their first head of marketing called Your Mechanic. And this was an even more tech-enabled company that connected mechanics with car owners that would fix their car at their home or office, often for, like 30% less than it would cost to go to the dealer or a shop. And we built out a huge network of mechanics nationwide. And we were also working with all the rideshare companies to do inspections for their cars at a time when they were growing faster than the Jiffy Lubes and Pep Boys of the world could handle. So we, across the board, I was kind of starting to dive into not only marketing, but also operations, and heavily with content across the board here, from Food 52, where I was, creating a ton of content around home cooking and distributing that to partners like Huffington Post and Yahoo. And then for Your Mechanic, creating the largest car advice site online, where we had developed all these how-to articles for how to maintain and fix your car. And then tips like, how to drive safely at night or in the rain, things like that. And we built out 5,000 articles in like a year, plus 25,000 real-time answered Q&A with the mechanics who were on our platform, who were like master techs and had a lot of advice to share. So I have a strong content marketing background, developed a lot of partnerships around that. So when I came to Smith AI after being at Your Mechanic for a few years, I was their first head of marketing and then partnerships and then now growth and education, because I always somehow find a way to drive content as a real source of growth for the firm that I'm working for, the company. And I think what speaks to me about that is it's very service oriented first, and you're delivering something of value and not leading with, just your value props, your sales proposition, whatever it is. You're introducing your brand to market, and all of these were very new brands, all against very established industries, obviously. The gourmet magazines, the Jiffy Lubes of the world, now being in the legal industry. I think that the establishment of the continuing legal education has been a great platform for us to say at Smith AI, look, we've answered over 600,000 phone calls, many of which have been for attorneys. We really know how to be responsive and effective in your communications at your solo or small law firm. And I think the way that my brain just happens to work is that I see what we're doing and how it can provide advice and not just services that we offer, obviously, and charge for, but how we can help strengthen law firms and do good. As we are a for-profit company, but we want to be really contributing to the growth of not only the industry, but also to the people who need help the most. Back early in my career, maybe that was the home cooks. Back, later it was the mechanics who were struggling to kind of like run a small little business on their own. And then now it's the solo and small firm attorneys who need as much help as they can possibly get, because they're spread really thin. They're getting inundated with interruptions from both good and bad potential leads. They're spending more money on marketing now than ever with new channels that have been untested, and they're being sold a lot too, and are skeptical. And I think like it's harder than ever in some ways to get cut through the noise and figure out, how do I really run an efficient law practice? What technology can I use efficiently and ethically and affordably? So in my role, I try and drill down the messaging into here's what works, and then hopefully Smith AI is a component of practice that's been proven to be effective.
Absolutely. And you've done a tremendous job at doing it. The amount of work that goes into content marketing can be overwhelming, especially for a early stage organization or a do everything, wear all the hats marketing manager or head of marketing for a startup. And so one of the points that you touched on was the ability to drive growth through content. And, it's the legal tech community and the legal tech space has really exploded with a lot of providers. There are a lot of offerings out there. What are some of the characteristics of content and what you look for when you're creating a communication plan, when you're creating a marketing plan that really help cut through the noise?
Man, I could talk for a long time about this subject, but I think there are a few things that help you cut through the noise. Obviously, in the legal industry, trust is paramount, and that's where I start always. And I think the things that drive trust are established relationships that are already demonstrating trust with the attorney or the law firm or whoever it is. So that goes into the partnerships and who I work with on some of these presentations, if I'm working with another client, or if I'm working with Clio, or we did a 500-person webinar with Lexicata last year, or whatever the case may be. Like, you are only as strong as your partnerships, and when you work with another brand, you confer your brand on each other's, right? So it's very important that you're careful about who you choose to work with. And then I would also say, I'm an economics major, so data is always a very strong component of the content that I use. I think that there is healthy skepticism these days around the advice, so to speak, that is being given by some companies. But at the same time, there is very quality content that's being delivered by these companies. And just because I happen to work for Smith AI and I'm not an independent contracted educator, doesn't mean that my advice is not genuine or effective or wholesome or true in its nature to really providing good advice and not trying to sell something, right? And the partners, when we work with the bar associations, I couldn't get away with that even if I did want to, right? I mean, you have to provide substantial advice, and I'm not here to sell. I'm here to build trust. And I think that with data and with good other partners who can supplement with data and advice that's complementary. For example, if I talk about responsiveness and best practices for intake, working with Lexicata or Clio or Client Sherpa, Lead Docket, any of the fabulous players in the market, honestly, they have deep knowledge in these subject areas. So it makes sense to work together to provide the CLE education that really can be a deep dive with experts into the tools that are effective for the attorneys and better understand how to use them. So even if we're talking in generalities and not specifically to one, software or one service, I think that the trust comes from demonstrating the tools that are available and in their effectiveness through case studies and through data. It's always going to be that way.
Absolutely. And it is a fact that people buy from organizations and ambassadors that they know, they like, and trust. And you've done a tremendous job of really becoming that ambassador for Smith AI and doing webinars more often than I've seen very few people pull off from a scheduling perspective. And you're, on the front lines at conferences and I mean, just all over the place. And I think that that's the other part of dedication that can often be underestimated, is that it really, it's a blend of not only that trust-based content marketing, but also the face time. I mean, this is very much an industry that still does business based on a handshake, and they want to know who you are. They want to know who is working on the team at the company. And as they grow, I mean, you look at an organization like Clio, everybody still knows that Jack was the one, walking around and doing the CLEs and working booths as his team grew early on in the beginning. And that was something that really helped launch them into the marketplace.
Well, it not only just launches them, but also keeps their ears to the ground. And I think that's so important. You're going to, if you're listening and you're someone who's trying to establish themselves in the market in whatever way, if you're an attorney and you're looking to teach some CLEs, or you're looking to network better, or whatever the case may be, or build your brand, or come up with an online course, or launch your own podcast. I think that, or just provide education, online to potential clients. I think that it's really important to be where your potential clients and partners in industry are active. So for me, it's not only going to these events where absolutely it's still a very traditional industry and business is done based on referrals and handshakes and smiles and cocktails and dinners, but it is, and also that just shows your commitment to whether or not you're sincere about, truly working with someone. But it allows you to have these conversations and overhear conversations with your peers and with potential clients of the matters that are most important to them. So one of the things that I love the most about being at a conference and being at the booth, you will find me personally staffing those booths. I love that because I am able to have the frontline interaction with potential clients, hear what's top of mind, hear what questions they have that I probably take for granted that people know that actually may not be the case, and then bring that back directly to our product team and say, this is what people are saying is important to them, or these are the needs that we need to meet. And thankfully, we're already very much in tune with that. And Justin and Aaron, our co-founders, always have been. But that dynamic changes and the technology is rapidly evolving these days. So I think that it's really important to have that ear to the ground and never get comfortable with your understanding of your target audience, of your networking audience, of your peers. I even participate, as I know, Chelsey, you're in like the Maximum Lawyer group, and other networking kind of community groups outside of the establishment, because there are just different sorts of conversations that are happening in all these different venues.
Yes, I could not agree with you more. And I think that it's such a great point that you make, that that's what helps you stay on the front line and keep your ears to the ground. Even in the work that we do with our provider partners, no matter how exhausted or tired I might be, it's still important for me to go out and do the bar association meetings and deliver the CLEs and participate in Tech Show in as many ways as we possibly can, and support the community, not just from an education perspective, but also just going out and showing your support for other startups, and building those relationships and listening to what the marketplace needs, and the feedback that you're getting from the attorneys and law firms themselves. So that brings me to the next milestone in our conversation of, what are you working on that you're most excited about? I've been privy to some Smith AI announcements, and we've shared quite a few things with our Lex Tech Review audience over the last few weeks. But what are some of the highlights of 2019 so far? Things that you have coming down the roadmap, for both in your own role and then also from a product perspective.
I'm most excited about the web chat, Chelsey, honestly. Like, I think the most exciting thing to me is the web chat, because it stems the calls and emails that are inundating the solo and small firm attorneys. Like, there's one family law attorney here in Buffalo. I work from home, even though our company is based in California, here in Buffalo. And she was saying that she gets 500 emails a day. I mean, that is just a staggering number, even to me, and I'm involved in a lot of different things. Like, 500 emails is a mind-blowing number.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, that didn't even shock the room when I taught a CLE recently for the Erie County Bar. So what did they want to know? They wanted to know how to eliminate the back and forth and reduce that volume, and better track the time they were spending on emails. So one of the things that can be done is with web chat, you can absolutely like stem the calls and emails by having quick responses and automatic responses, as well as receptionist like hours, or even you staffing your own chat, insofar that it's feasible and you're available, to be really responsive in a really efficient method, where someone will communicate with you a question that they have, or you can proactively see if they have a question while they're visiting your website, and capture them before they bounce. Because oftentimes what we find is that A, people don't read, and B, they don't have patience to find the information that's not immediately available, and they may leave a website before they are able to recognize that it could be a lawyer who can help them. So no matter how good your website is, you may still be finding that people are coming to your family law practice for criminal defense, and like, that's just something that you can easily refer to a firm you recommend. But instead of having a call ring through, or someone completes your contact form and then you have to respond to it, web chat can be the fastest way to just like not only capture the good quality leads, but also to reduce the interruptions for the bad quality leads, and to build goodwill by making a quality referral as well. So I think that web chat is, to me, a really exciting technology to apply that has been proven in many other industries to be very effective. And it's extremely efficient. And as we announced to your readers, and I will say here on the podcast even, we have a self-service chat that is going to be available, which is free for one user, which is pretty incredible. There's real-time English-Spanish translation. So basically, Chelsey, like, I could be speaking, I speak English, I don't speak Spanish. Let's say that you speak Spanish and you come to the website and you start chatting in Spanish. I would actually see your Spanish chats in English, and then I would respond in English and you would see them in Spanish in real time. So that's like one of the ways that I think people don't necessarily see how Smith AI, because we're staffed by live receptionists, is an AI, like very technology driven company, because some of these things are powering the receptionist to do incredible things or a better job more efficiently, or beyond their current skill set. That you don't see that happens behind the scenes that's pretty powerful. Like making English speaking receptionists bilingual when we have some Spanish speaking receptionists, but not 100%, is a pretty powerful thing to have technology assist with. So that I'm excited about. I'm excited about improving access to resources and broadly to justice with the technology, that we can make people, or we can help people make better decisions by improving the communications between potential clients and the firms, and getting better matching between the firms and their clients, so that there's just less wasted time, and that people are able to run a business more efficiently with clients they genuinely want to serve.
Well, I think that that's absolutely a standout that Smith AI has provided to its users, and anyone who's considering trying out chat. There's no better option than the self-service. I mean, we tested it, part of the process of doing a product review with Lex Tech Review, which we recently published on the Smith AI web chat tool set, is the ability to participate when you're free, and then roll it over to a live receptionist or live chat person during certain hours if you're not. And for us, I mean, even within the first couple days, I think we underestimate how much people want that instant gratification, immediate response. And just by providing them the opportunity to interact with someone right when they visit the website, it prevents them from moving on and looking for another provider. It prevents them from having that wavering, I don't know if I should really do this, and make a phone call. The chat is much more, you can hide behind your computer and talk to someone, and it's a lot less intimidating. So even for us, we saw an improvement in conversions on our website within the first few days. I highly encourage anyone who hasn't taken advantage of at least giving the self-service chat a try, jumping in it. You have a tremendous onboarding program, which I'd love to hear your feedback on, because as you mentioned earlier in our conversation, you oftentimes, as a marketer or as a leader within a small company, more so the latter, that you wear a lot of hats. And so marketing can oftentimes be a service department. It's a personal philosophy of mine that is how it serves the business. Sometimes we need assets to help the onboarding team so that they can better document and provide information to clients. And so really, what has your role been, or involvement, in that 1 foot in operations, 1 foot in marketing, 10 hats on your head from you're in a startup and you're doing whatever needs to get done. How has your ability to put together valuable content and education also contributed to the organization's goals from a customer service or support perspective?
Well, I think that we're really lucky because the receptionists they use are AI software that's proprietary. We're not built on some, call center software or something. It's all built in-house. They use that day in and day out. So when we tell them oh, you're going to be getting this email in Front or in MailChimp, or can you update this thing in Slack, or the notifications that we have in Slack for new clients who sign up that triggers an onboarding workflow or something, that stuff is easy for them, because our software that they use to handle calls and chats is very sophisticated. And if they can do that, they can use Front to triage and handle support emails. But I think what we do when working with the engineering and support teams, because it all really goes together, is we're the front lines in many ways for the industry and the trends and the beta testers, for example, and the partners who have those potential beta testers. Like when Chelsey, you and I work together, like we can identify that many of the folks who are tuning in to you, whether it's email or this podcast, like, they're some of the most forward thinking and influential people in the industry, and also just people who have a very open mind. So insofar as marketing can assist in attracting users who are going to give great product feedback, then that has an operational impact.
Absolutely, it does. And moving into kind of the wrap up of today's call, what is the one habit or routine, or how do you balance all of this? How do you balance your career and goals and working for an organization that requires a tremendous amount of travel for to build a brand and to get it into the marketplace? What is one thing that you do personally? I know we both share that we went to culinary school in different capacities, but is there something that you come back to when you're at home, or is there a routine that you have while you're on the road that really helps you stay grounded?
I think for me, what helps me stay grounded is making sure that I am getting the most out of the time when I'm away, so that I feel like that it's really important for me to have been away. And when I'm going to events, I am signing up for, and this is probably the opposite of what you expected to hear, but like when I'm at an event, I am very, very, very busy, because I am away from the people who I love. I am there on a mission business. So in as far as I can, if I'm going to be exhibiting at an event, if I can speak, great. I was just at an IT conference and I was on the keynote panel talking about AI and the workforce and the future of work. Like that is maximizing my time. So if you're going to events and you're not finding someone to go to dinner with in the evening, or finding ways to fill up your time really effectively, then you're not getting the most out of that travel. And travel is really tiring. So I just try and maximize that as much as possible. And then I try and maximize or I should say minimize the time that I spend on really those like routine tasks that can be such time sucks and also energy sucks for what your brain is keeping track of, or what you're keeping track of in like Trello or Clubhouse, or if you use project management software. But certain hacks that I have, like the Calendly plugin for Google, like for Gmail, I absolutely love it. I can just drop times into an email and not even send my link, but send exact times that someone can click on and book me. So it's like one easier step for them, the same steps for me, and then there's no back and forth. It's just, here's when I'm available, and if none of those times work, they click and they see the rest of my availability. I was just talking to a group of lawyers at that Erie County Bar meeting the other day, and people hadn't heard about Doodle. So that, Calendly is really great for one-to-one meetings, and that can be very helpful also for scheduling meetings while you're traveling. But for group meetings, you can collect everyone's schedule within one place, and Doodle makes that extremely easy and visible, based on different permissions, even for when you can have multiple, 2 or more people, or 3 or more people, I should say, joining a meeting. And then you really eliminate the back and forth, because that can just be such a time suck. So insofar as those tools are helpful to people, I mean, they're free and easy to use, I really encourage doing that, because the best thing is when especially when you have a lot on your plate, it's really nice to be able to work on the really meaty things and not be bogged down by those little tasks. So, document automation, like I have a bunch of templates. I have a lot of email templates. If I'm reaching out to a new partner, or if I'm trying to explore a, member benefits opportunity with a state bar, like I have a lot of resources now at my disposal that I have spent a lot of time developing. And some of them require design work and others are a bit more scrappy. And I would say, know when you need to build a process or a document or a workflow that takes a little bit of extra time now and is going to save you an immense amount of time in the future. that's by far the most important thing that I have discovered.
And it's amazing that you also are able to work for an organization that embraces that concept wholeheartedly. I mean, one of the biggest differentiators for Smith AI is the application of cutting edge technology to automatically deflect a lot of the things that are not relevant, to avoid you being billed for calls or chats that are not related to your business. It's like leveraging technology to eliminate as many distractions as possible, because it's like the two things that are hardest to come by is, time and getting new clients. And to be able to focus and make the time that you have as productive as possible by leveraging technology and eliminating distractions, but then also to focus the time that you do have on cultivating relationships, on growing your business, on doing the things that you love, or spending every present moment possible with the people in your life that you care about. So I love that you not only are such an amazing brand ambassador for Smith AI and the products, and so passionate about it, but that you also live that in your daily life as well.
Thank you, Chelsey.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that you and there's certainly a love fest. Like, I have so much respect for what you've done. And I think, honestly, you've also made it very, you've opened the doors for women in legal to, honestly, like, I would say in a really positive way, stick their neck out and say, like, I have advice to share. And I'm not saying that I have everything perfectly dialed in. Like, we're all still a work in progress, and we're all still growing and striving. But what you take for granted right now as your process or something that's working for you, I guarantee people who, even if you don't think it's anything so impressive, like, your process is probably more advanced for certain people than you believe it is for yourself. And that, to me, was the real unlock when I started doing this education. I thought, oh my gosh, like, here I am coming up against like so many people who have decades of experience. How am I possibly going to contribute anything new and substantial to an industry that, has such a deep well of information and expertise? But, if you don't get out there and start, pushing out the information that you think is important, that can truly help people, and you come at it with a positive, smiling face and a child's mind where you can always be learning new things, then it becomes a really powerful vehicle for other people to participate in your sessions, and for people to feel comfortable if you're humble and approachable, and saying, I really don't know everything, for them to also get more out of the session, because they're going to speak up if they feel less intimidated. And if you say, look, I'm coming to you with the information that I have, the advice that I've gleaned at this point, but I don't know everything, like, that makes for just such a more productive presentation or panel or working group. So for women who are listening, and I think as a gender, we are notoriously bad at speaking up for ourselves and sticking our neck out and saying, like, I am an expert and I deserve recognition and I want to spread the word, most importantly, and share this knowledge and advice with others. I think that the best way, same thing with, working on your first Zap, or doing your first automation, or setting a process and handing it off and outsourcing your first task. Like, everything just takes a little bit of a leap of faith. And if you come at it with a service-driven mindset, like, you really can't fail.
Oh, I love that, Maddy. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us and all of your experiences and advice. Especially, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think all of us are doing our part to make the practical side of an everyday life of what it takes to build a career and a name for yourself in this space a more approachable conversation for everyone listening, and all of our aspiring women in tech or women in legal entrepreneurs and employees in the corporate environment. So Maddy, you just have been an amazing guest. And if our listeners want to connect with you, if they want to learn more about Smith AI, if they want to take advantage of the self-service web chat option, can you tell us where they can find you?
Absolutely. Well, you can just as we eat our own dog food, you can go to smith.ai and you can chat with us live Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern, 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific, and get a taste for that chat yourself. You can call us 650-727-6484, or you can email at hello@smith.ai. If you have questions for me specifically, or if you want to work together, or if you're thinking about getting into legal education or marketing tactics that you want to kind of vet, I'd be happy to chat with you. My email is Maddy, MADDY, @smith.ai.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I have no doubt that we could talk for hours on everything that we've covered today. I can't stress enough. Please connect with her, find her on LinkedIn, reach out to her if you want to have a conversation. She's one of the best people in the space that I've ever had the opportunity to work with, and cannot stress that enough. So everyone, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Women in Legal podcast. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of your day, your week, your month. Chase your goals and follow Maddy's advice, and don't be afraid to take that seat at the table and reach out and learn from others whenever possible.
Thanks for listening to the Women in Legal podcast with Chelsey Lambert. To hear more, please subscribe.